often think that, the lack of ambition in climate policy is due to a lack of support for climate policy, a lack of support in the population. And there were some recent survey-based papers that actually shown, like on a cross-country level, that there's actually quite a high support for climate policy, and also related to that for international redistributive policies. And I think those results were quite surprising to me, and I was like, oh, so then maybe the issue is it's not about climate support, maybe how it's perceived by politicians, but the actual support seems to be actually here. So I guess that's one result that surprised me and that was a bit counterintuitive for me.
It's not about your individual consumption decisions, which it's good that you do it and it's good that you try to consume less, but emissions are really distributed in a very unequal way, and the main source of emissions are just a bunch of companies. So it's not about you, recycling more, or oh, I have this tote bag now, so, thinking about, it's not about that, it's not, this need to be tackled collectively, and it's not about you recycling more or taking the bus, it's about well, why don't we have real public transportation?
I once thought that the environmental provisions that are introduced in trade agreements were simply window dressing, that they didn't do anything, that they were there simply to facilitate the ratification process, but that they were almost meaningless. But we have found with research that they do have an impact, that they have an impact on trade flows, that they have an impact on domestic environmental regulations, and ultimately that they have an impact on environmental performance.
Politics are much more difficult than we appreciate. So initially I thought we had the answers, especially in the scholarly community, of the strategies that are needed to especially cooperate within but also across countries and regions, etc. But then what I'm learning and I've come to appreciate is that it's so difficult. And so some of the assumptions we had in that, for example, if we have policies or treaties, then we kind of almost solve the problem. But that's the easy bit. The hardest bit is implementing them. And so my research nowadays has become a little more critical, which is in a good way, and kind of asking a bit more basic questions and really rethinking the assumptions that I had. I've had to do a lot of unlearning through the process, but that has been a little bit unsettling, but very, very satisfying in terms of also growing as a scholar.